Wishing you all a happy day and welcome to Dr. K's Lecturecast in Anatomy. An interesting topic today to be covered is the parotid gland. In this topic, I'm going to cover the situation, the presenting features of the parotid gland, relations, structures within the parotid gland, and relevant clinical anatomy. The parotid duct, blood supply, nerve supply, and the histology of the parotid gland will be discussed in Parotid Gland Part 2 lecture. So, as usual, parotid. Para means around, otic means ear. So, around the ear, a gland is seen, parotid gland. So, if we talk about any gland, what does it secrete? Parotid gland, we all know it is one of the three major salivary glands and largest of all the salivary glands. There are two types of secretions, serous secretion and mucus. So parotid gland is considered to be predominantly serous type. It is located below the external acoustic meatus. This is the external auditory or external acoustic meatus. So below that the parotid gland is situated or located. You can see here the gland overlaps a part of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, the mandible, and over the mandible you can see one of the muscle of mastication, which is the masseter. So it overlaps mandible, the masseter, and the sternocleidomastoid muscles. Coming to the capsule of parotid gland, whenever we discuss about any gland in a body, they are covered by a capsule. So the capsule for parotid gland is derived from the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. So this is the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. It encloses wherever it goes and gets attached to any muscle, it splits and encloses the muscle. So this should be the sternocleidomastoid. And can you see here, this is the superficial lamina of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, and this is the deep lamina. So this forms the capsule of the parotid gland. So can you see here, the fascia splits into superficial thick layer attached to the zygomatic arch. Can you see here? To the zygomatic arch, this is a coronal section. So you'll be just able to see the coronal section here. And when coming to the deep lamina, can you see here? It is attached to the tympanic plate and also to the posterior border of the ramus of the mandible, styloid process, and the tympanic plate. You can see in the next diagram here, in the next picture, can you see here? This is the styloid process and stylomandibular ligament. So now why I am talking about stylomandibular ligament is, in the previous picture you saw the deep lamina is attached to the styloid process, posterior border of the ramus of mandible. So in between these two area, that is the posterior border of the mandible and the styloid process, this investing layer of the deep cervical fascia, that is the deep lamina of the parotid gland, is thickened to form the stylomandibular ligament. So this ligament separates the parotid gland from the underlying submandibular salivary gland. Now, it is very important to understand the exact shape of the gland here, and that is how we can arrive upon the presenting parts, and we can relate the other structures which are related to the presenting parts. Three-sided pyramid, but I have inverted the pyramid here. So it has an apex, the base. Take this part, the square part which I am tracing here as the base, or the superior surface, that is the above surface. Three surfaces are there: superficial, anteromedial, and posteromedial. Superficial is always related to the skin. You remove the skin and few structures, you see the parotid gland. This is medial aspect. Imagine a midline here. So, medial aspect, there is an anteromedial. This triangle, we can take it as the anteromedial, and behind that, that triangle, this part, we can take it as the posteromedial aspect. So, all these surfaces are divided by borders. You can take this as anterior border, medial border, and the posterior border. This is just an imagination to know the presenting features and the relations of parotid gland with other structures. Now, what are the relations of these presenting parts? Let's discuss about the apex and base. Remember, apex of the parotid gland is always facing downwards and base is facing upwards. Base is otherwise called as the superior surface. Base is related to the external acoustic meatus, auriculotemporal nerve and the superficial temporal vessels. One bony structure, one set of vessels and one nerve. And apex is related to one nerve and one vein. Remember, cervical, it is apex is going towards the neck. So cervical branch of the facial nerve and anterior and posterior divisions of the retromandibular vein. Superficial surface relate to S and S. So skin, when we remove the skin, we can see superficial fascia. One point you should remember is the parotid gland. The skin over the parotid gland is supplied by the greater auricular nerve. Great auricular nerve. So the superficial fascia along with great auricular nerve. Some superficial lymph nodes are seen. Posterior fibers of platysma and rhizorius. These are the muscles of facial expression, parotid fascia and deep parotid lymph nodes. From superficial to deep, you are reading these relations. Anteromedial surface. So anterior also facing medial. Can you see here? One bone. What is this bone? Ramus of the mandible. To the ramus of the mandible, remember laterally one muscle is attached and medially one muscle is attached. The muscles attached here are the muscles of mastication, the masseter and the medial pterygoid. And the temporomandibular joint and branches of facial nerve. Can you see? Branches of facial nerve is emerging here. Posteromedial surface. Again, a bony structure and muscles attached to it. Bony structures are two. Can you see here? This is posteromedial surface. This area is posteromedial surface to the gland. So mastoid process, styloid process. So write the muscles attached to them. Mastoid, remember two muscles, posterior belly of digastric and sternomastoid. And styloid process, you know, stylohyoid, styloglossus and stylopharyngeus muscles attached here. The external carotid artery, this is very important here. External carotid artery and the facial nerve. Can you see here? The external carotid artery and the facial nerve enters the gland through this surface. When you go deeper, you can see the internal carotid artery and the internal jugular vein deeper to the styloid process. Coming to the relations of the borders. This is kind of easy to remember. Anterior border, all the 5 branches of facial nerve emerge here. Can you see? The 5 branches emerge here, which are considered to be the terminal branches of facial nerve and transverse facial vessel. So remember, one nerve, one vessel and a duct. We know parotid gland secretes saliva, so it has to be carried to the oral cavity by a tube, which is the parotid duct. So the branches of facial nerve and the parotid duct and transverse facial artery. Posterior border, remember P for posterior, posterior auricular vessels. So posterior auricular nerve and posterior auricular vein and artery. Medial border is otherwise called as pharyngeal border. So of course it will be related to the pharyngeal wall. Now structures within the parotid gland. The facial nerve, retromandibular vein and external carotid artery passes through the substance of the parotid gland. So this alone can be asked as a separate 5-mark question. Structures within the parotid gland, when we see from superficial to deep, nerve, vein and artery. Let's go to the previous slide. Nerve, vein and artery. So facial nerve, it emerges from the stylomastoid foramen and we read from the posteromedial surface, it goes to the anteromedial surface to appear in the anterior border. So as 5 branches. But before emerging into the five branches, there are two trunks of the facial nerve, temporofacial and cervicofacial. Temporofacial gives rise to temporal and zygomatic branches, whereas cervicofacial gives rise to upper buccal, lower buccal. In between these two only you can see the parotid duct, marginal mandibular and the cervical. This branching pattern of the facial nerve looks like a webbed foot of a goose. So we call that as the pes anserinus. Retromandibular vein, it is formed by, whenever we talk about any vein, we should say formation. Arteries means they branch out. So superficial temporal and the maxillary vein. Close to the apex of the gland, it divides into anterior and posterior. Can you see? Anterior division and a posterior division. Formed by the retromandibular vein is formed by superficial temporal vein when it joins with the maxillary vein. Coming to the external carotid artery, it enters through the posteromedial surface of the gland. Superficial temporal artery emerges at the apex. We saw in the relation of the apex of the gland, and it gives a branch called as the transverse facial running transversely in the face, so it is called as transverse facial. And maxillary artery leaves the gland through the anteromedial border. When we spoke about the capsule of the parotid gland, the investing layer of deep cervical fascia dividing into superficial and deep lamina, remember a situation where a room can contain only 50 people is packed with 500 people. How it will be? More pressure and more painful. That is what happens with parotid gland also. So whenever the parotid gland has a space for its normal structure, but whenever the gland is infected, the infectious fluid, as it accumulates between these two layers, the rich nerve supply of the parotid gland makes the swelling very painful. That is why we called as the fascia doesn't yield to the infection to spread out in the gland. So that is called as the unyielding nature of the parotid fascia. So what type of infectious diseases we can expect which leads to parotid gland swellings are we call as a mumps caused by a specific virus. And there is a plane. We say parotid gland is also has a superficial and deep part, and there is a isthmus connecting these two parts. So the plane passing through this part we call as the Patty's fascio-venous plane. So the parotid duct, nerve supply and blood supply, histology of the parotid gland I will cover in parotid gland part 2 presentation. Kindly take this lecture as for academic purposes just to refresh or for a quick review of specific topics, and this is not intended as a guide for any treatments or clinical interventions. If in case you feel this lecture useful, please share it among with your friends, give a thumbs up if you like it, and kindly subscribe. And only when you do a subscription of my channel, you'll get notifications when I upload further videos. Thanks a lot for hearing my lecture. See you in the next class with parotid gland part 2 presentation.